Of course this beats Security Breach, why wouldn't it? You read the title, you know my thoughts on the Curse of Dreadbear, but if it was that simple, there wouldn't be a video in the first place. I originally didn't think much of the Curse of Dreadbear. I thought it would be your typical short DLC to squeeze some more playtime out of FNAF Help Wanted. And using hindsight, I can confidently say I was kinda right. When I pressed the reinstall button for Help Wanted 1 and saw that this DLC was 10 fucking gigabytes, I knew I was in for either a treat or a headache. Funnily enough, I got both. Just for reference, Help Wanted on its own is 11 gigabytes, just barely bigger than its DLC, which is impressive. I mean, just think about it. You're the DLC to the most positively rated FNAF game, and yet I've only ever heard you mentioned once in passing and never again. Why? Well, that's what I hope to figure out today. People loved Help Wanted 1, and Help Wanted 2 is poised to become even more beloved than its predecessor. So let's sit down and answer the burning question. Why does no one talk about the Curse of Dreadbear? Also, while preparing to record this game, I discovered Help Wanted 1 doesn't have cloud save. Good to know I'll have to do all that again when I come back around and tie up any loose ends.
Is that... Whoa. Is that the guy from Chipper and Sons Lumber Co? No, what? What? Oh, you're kidding me. You're seriously... Really?
Remember when I said this line in my Help Wanted 2 video? Why does she have so much importance in the Help Wanted series? I haven't played Dreadbear yet, but at this point I expect to see her there too. Unfortunately, I was right. And as usual, I still hate this minigame. Basically, it's literally just a reskin of Plush Baby's minigame from Help Wanted 1 from the Dark Rooms. Even more so than the reskin present in Help Wanted 2. I was genuinely angry when I loaded into this game because in Help Wanted 1, this game was a pain in the ass, and now I gotta do it again? How you play this game is pretty simple. You spawn in a dark area and have to survive until 6 AM as 3 plush babies try to eviscerate and blah 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 blah. I'm tired of re-explaining the same minigame. Flashy flashy equal win, plushy plushy equal die. I'm gonna be real with you, this felt like a kick in the nuts. I felt so fucking empty when I loaded into this minigame. So I'll return to this minigame after I cover the others. This was an interesting little mini-game. Basically, you're in an extremely long hallway in the FNAF 4 house, and you have to make it back to your room. I don't remember this in the blueprints. When the hell did the Aftons have a goddamn mansion? Fazbear Entertainment pays well, I guess. Regardless of Afton's insane salary, it's very apparent that not all is well within the Afton household. As you slowly creep your way down this hallway, Nightmare Bonnie and Nightmare Chica will repeatedly open one of the many doors in front of you because they think you're trying to sell them Girl Scout cookies. Seriously though, the more I think about this hallway, the more it reminds me of a Scooby-Doo intro. How you counter this apparent paranoia is by stopping when the doors are open and continuing when the doors are closed. As you waddle your underdeveloped legs down the hallway, Nightmare Foxy will occasionally appear in front of you. And if he sees you moving while the lightning's flashing, then it's game over. Your boy Foxy is like a stereotypical T-Rex. He can't see you if you're not moving. Finally, we have Nightmare Freddy, and he's actually the reason I kinda hated this minigame on my first 2 runs. After you're about 40% through the minigame, Nightmare Freddy will spawn behind you and slowly chase you until you make it to the end. He's really menacing, and the entire time he's behind you, the only noise he makes is an occasional giggle and the high-pitched droning of the Freddos becoming louder and louder. It was hella stressful the first 2 times because the game doesn't tell you anything. This minigame is based entirely on trial and error. I even triple-checked the tutorial they give you at the start of each minigame, and it doesn't say anything about any of the animatronics or what they do. It's up to you to figure it out yourself. And as much as I want to say they did it well here, they didn't. Do not let the hallway devs cook. You bothered telling me to shoot the targets in Pirate Foxy, which is a minigame we'll cover later, but you couldn't be bothered to tell me getting close to Foxy turns him into a plushie, or don't let Freddy catch you, just to hint at the fact that this fucker is unstoppable? Okay, buddy. Amazing tutorial. Very helpful. On top of that, the walking in Help Wanted 1 is just really clunky. This will come back to bite us in the ass in a future minigame. My only complaint is that you can't continue moving forward while not looking in front of you, even if you rotate the stick in a way that should let you continue walking forward. Regardless of jank, I still think this minigame does atmosphere fantastically and was a decently fun minigame nonetheless. 6.5 out of 10. With a house that big, who needs kids anyway? This one infuriates me, but I still think it's worth your time. Basically, you're in the Fazbear Entertainment Fulfillment Center. That's a thing. And you need to build a mangle so it can be shipped out to other pizzerias and entertain. It's your job to assemble the mangle in question. You do this by looking at the screens and grabbing whatever parts flash up there. You then throw them into the pit in front of you to add them to the mangle. If you're a careless little worker and end up tossing in something wrong, like Springtrap's fucking hand for some reason, okay, or Circus Baby's arm, then Mangle will crawl out of the vent above you and destroy you for butchering her commission. I like to imagine he kills you because if someone said they were drawing you and then gave you a half-completed monstrosity with a bunch of shit you never asked for, I bet you'd want to strangle them too. My problem with this is that it can get really overwhelming at times. Looking around and seeing all the different parts coming at you, not to mention a lot of shit looks very similar at first glance due to all the metal not really distinguishing itself. On top of that, the screens flicker very quickly, so you literally have about 3 seconds to actually remember whatever the hell was shown on screen. Not to mention, you only have 60 seconds to build this abomination, and when you put all of that together, you can probably see why I struggled with this. Luckily, you don't need to assemble the mangle 100%. I managed to pass with only 70%, but goddamn, this one was a nightmare for me. I'm genuinely happy Dreadbear doesn't have any encore stages, because holy shit, I am not ready. Also, I'm probably incredibly blind. I mean, I do wear glasses, but it feels like there's just moments where I'm not getting any of what I actually need.
Like, Nightmare On, give me some Nightmare On, you cucks. I literally didn't get what I needed there. Oh, now I get Nightmare On.
6 out of 10. I'm sure a lot of people love this one, but I just suck at it. This one was actually really fun. Basically, you're out trick-or-treating and you arrive at what I'm assuming to be Foxy's house. Since the little door bang thing, I don't know door anatomy, is in the shape of Foxy's head. Also, I don't know if anyone else has gotten this feeling during this minigame, but I felt so at home here. I've never been this immersed during a VR experience until now. Not during Help Wanted 1 or 2, not during Super Hot, and not even during VR chat. I definitely feel immersed when I play those games. I mean, my body literally jumps when I take a bullet to the face in Super Hot, but I literally felt like I was there. It's this beautiful combination of nostalgia on my part, amazing set pieces that complement the Halloween theme terrifically, top-notch design of the surrounding area, and probably the cold weather I'm currently basking in. I mean, I did play this game with the window open, so maybe I'm over-exaggerating, but I truly felt like a kid again. And for the first time ever, I managed to forget I had a $200 spyware-infested piece of shit strapped to my face. Cool story, but what about the actual gameplay? Fuck you. Is that all I'm good for? Fine. The actual game in question is pretty fire. When you ring the doorbell, all the animatronics will start to randomly walk throughout the house. I don't know what the fuck they're up to if I'm being totally honest, but I get the feeling I can kinda relate. I mean, I especially hate answering the door for the delivery guy, so imagine how a bunch of incredibly disfigured murder victims must feel answering the door themselves. When they're doing this little, shuffle, you have to peek through the windows like the nosy brat you are, and guess which animatronic will answer the door by putting on their respective mask. There's Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Balloon Boy for some reason. There's also a Mangle mask as well, but she doesn't actually answer the door. He just crawls on the window to your left, and if she sees you without his mask on, I assume she'll kill you, but I didn't give him that chance. I love seeing my boy Mangle get some love. The animations are genuinely cool, and I really love the goofy premise here. Just seeing the Wizards hanging out on Halloween, giving out candy. I love when FNAF does stuff like this. It's nice seeing the Wizards get some much needed attention. They weren't in Help Wanted 1 very much, and they didn't exist at all in Help Wanted 2, which is a very big missed opportunity. The blacklight parts and service levels could have been their withered forms as opposed to whatever the fuck this is. Also, I got Chica 3 times in a row. How does she even open the door? She has no hands. You want me to sit here and believe she starts chomping at the doorknob when she wants to open it? Better yet, I don't even want to imagine that. Pretty good minigame. 10 out of 10. Trick or treat, smell my feet.
I think it's Bonnie. It's Bonnie. I'm fucked. Oh, never mind. What's up, Chica? Again? I will create the ultimate life form. I shall call him... Oh, that's a little close. I shall call him Dreadbear. Big Dreadbear. Come to life, my little creation! Come to life!
This minigame was amazing. Easily 10 out of 10. I'd expect as much, seeing as how Dreadbear is the whole reason this DLC has its name. Basically, we're using science to cosplay as William Afton and bring the dead back to life. The issue is that our little science project is missing a few screws where it matters most, the brain. So we have to match the colors of the brain with the picture of the brain on the screen to our left by using this little needle right here. And can I just say, I feel really bad for any colorblind players who attempt this game. It's not hard in the slightest, but seeing and differentiating the different colors sounds like a Herculean task in my mind when I imagine anyone colorblind playing this. The colors green, lime green, and yellow are already a little tricky, so any colorblind viewers who played this minigame, I would love to hear your experience in the comments. Aside from colors, we also have to give him a properly sized brain. I actually died once because I gave him a literal almond for a brain.
Alrighty. This should do it. You should not kill me. What? I am your father. How could you?
I hate you. Yeah, that one was a genuine oopsie. On top of brain size, we also have to monitor his neurofeedback loop, which is a fancy way of saying we have to tune his brain like we're hacking into a frequency from Batman Arkham Origins. I really loved this minigame, and quite honestly, now I'm kinda sad this level doesn't have a blacklight variant, or an encore variant, or anything extra. The only thing that makes this stage challenging is that we forgot to pay our electric bill, so the power will constantly go off while we're operating on our little vegetable. It's pretty easy once you got the hang of things, and it really made me feel like Frankenstein every time I pulled that switch. The doctor named Frankenstein, not the monster. Shock him more than 3 times and he decides he wants to be an orphan. I guess that Batman comparison wasn't too far off, was it? After you give him his brain, you send our little angel off to entertain kids and make the world a better place. TLDR, I really like this one. Putting these 4 together adds up to a terrifying 8.1 out of 10.
Alright, this should do it. Now, what'll be your first words, my precious little son? I guess he's not ready to, say hi to his dada yet, alright. They grow up so fast, already spiting me. Well, you know, at least I was at your birth, Dreadbear. That's more than your mother could say. Somehow.
I actually really like the concept of this. Basically, you're back in the FNAF 1 office once again. However, things are a bit, unique. Instead of the steel door sandwich we all know and love, we're instead barricaded within the office like we're playing COD Zombies. Our only physical line of defense for the animatronics are the thin wooden planks patching up the empty frames where the doors once stood. Speaking of the animatronics, I originally didn't like how they were being introduced, but after a few deaths on night 2, I quickly understood why they took this route. On night 1, you're in a 1v2 with Jacko Chica and Jacko Bonnie. The reason for my dissatisfaction with night 1 is because Bonnie and Chica are the same fucking character, and if you just sit and wait for them to eventually mosey down to your office, you can pretty easily take care of night 1 without any issue. Which brings me to how you counter these animatronics. Aside from being decked out with a pretty cool pumpkin and some extra wood, you now have the ability to flash animatronics instead of slamming the door on them. No, not that flash, you sick fuck. Apparently the animatronics are scared of the light, and due to the extreme simplicity of night 1, I really didn't learn what they were trying to give me time to figure out, but we'll get to that shortly. During night 2, Foxy is introduced, and this one was a bit of a learning curve. Your boy Foxy sits in Pirate Cove, nothing out of the ordinary. However, he comes out of it very, very quickly compared to his usual slow progression. Even by Help Wanted 1 standards, he moves quickly. It's kind of intimidating. I originally thought you had to flash him right as he was appearing at your door, which I managed to time perfectly quite nicely. My issue was that I just kept getting fucked over by RNG. Eventually I got it through my thick skull that he's flashable as he's leaving his cove, which made me feel like a clown, but hey, at least I learned it, right? I'll also use this moment to mention what I missed on night 1. Basically, Jacko Chica and Jacko Bonnie will roam around the pizzeria quite quickly compared to pretty much any other version of them. Luckily, you've been given this handy dandy light button to use against them. You go from one cam to the next, hoping you can at least identify one of these fuckers, because I'll be honest with you, they're really hard to spot on cam. This genuinely feels like FNAF 1, but everyone is Springtrap. Bonnie and Chica have 2 states they enter, ignited and not ignited. The animatronics are only vulnerable to the light after they've been ignited, which coincidentally happens to be when they start moving. So you'll just have these fuckers still as a damn statue hiding in plain sight like they're Altair, and you just won't know. It's this beautiful combination of FNAF 3's shitty cameras, Springtrap's knack for hiding, and FNAF 2's super underutilized camera light feature. However, some of you more eagle-eyed viewers, and by eagle-eyed I mean not asleep viewers, may have noticed this fancy lever in our room. Seriously, if you missed this, I'm more concerned for your vision than I am for Foxy's. It seems Fazbear Entertainment finally invested in some actual fucking generators. The power finally isn't an issue in this restaurant. However, as a trade-off, the flash mechanic has a set amount of charges. You start with 5 flash charges and each one takes 20% of your energy. You can flip the switch manually and restock your charges sooner, or you can let it hit 0 and cause a power outage. It's not permanent, but I will warn you that it takes a good while for your systems to come back online. In night 3, it's unavoidable, just entirely, don't even think about it, but it never hurts to try to min-max. Which brings me to night 3. Night 3 is a doozy. Instead of a theoretical Jacko Freddy, we're greeted by the man, the myth, the legend himself, Dreadbear. Dreadbear is fucking terrifying, and I mean that in every way possible. He's enormous, he's loud, he's strong as fuck, and he's nearly invisible on the cameras when he's not moving. Dreadbear, unlike the other animatronics, is very, very, very dark. He's nearly impossible to see on cams, even when he's right in front of them. The only clue as to where he is the sounds of his footsteps, which aren't very reliable until he's pulling up to your office. And seeing him slowly march up to your door with his bright eyes penetrating the darkness actually really spooked me. Seriously though, why does he have these? I mean, I'm happy he has them, don't get me wrong, but who does he think he is? Chick Hicks from Cars? Why does he have headlights? Ignoring how many possible miles Dreadbear may have, he's genuinely terrifying. He has this super intimidating aura as you just hear his thuds as he moves from one side of the pizzeria to the other. And you can't even bother looking for him for too long because the other animatronics are incredibly aggressive on this night. Outages are unavoidable, and if everything I told you before didn't scare you, then allow me to curse you with the knowledge of Dreadbear's flash immunity. On top of being the equivalent of Michael Myers wearing size 20 Timbs, he also doesn't poof into thin air when the lights are turned on. All he does is freeze in place for a short period of time as he waits for you to get distracted again. It's fucking beautiful. He becomes even more active when there's an outage, so you'll have to actually manage your flashes wisely and play very conservatively, taking risks left and right. Do you flash Foxy and go for the switch, or do you send Chica away and just hope the power comes back on before he makes a move? Do you pause Dreadbear while he's down the hall from your office, or do you stay and wait for Bonnie and Chica to consume your flashes? It was incredibly tense, stressful, difficult, rage-inducing, and very, very rewarding. There were quite a few BS moments where I'd flash Chica and Bonnie, but they just didn't give a fuck. Okay. And I also noticed that the animatronics would sometimes have footsteps, but other times they'd be completely silent. So I'd be sitting there in my office after flashing them, only to be greeted with the not-so-pleasant sound of them shoulder-bashing my door like they're Wario on crack. 7 out of 10. It managed to give me a good scare. Congrats. Here we are again at the Plushkin Patch. Yep. -3 out of 10. I've played this same damn minigame 3 separate times across 3 different games, and the funny thing is that none of them were fun in the slightest. Yeah, sure, I'll admit I had some decent fun in Private Room Pink Slip from Help Wanted 2. However, all of that enjoyment went out the damn window when a slightly altered version of this same minigame plagued me once again. I am so fucking tired of Steel Wool reusing this shit. Get it out of my face already. Oh my god. This is pretty similar to Foxy's log ride from Help Wanted 2. I understand that this one came out first, but I can't help but point out the similarities. Just like in that minigame, this one is your pretty standard on-rail shooting gallery. However, I will say that this one is much better visually. It actually felt like a real carnival ride. The little rail beneath us that's visible at all times, the abundance of swaying cutouts, and the lovely crunchiness of Foxy's voice on the intercom. It actually made me feel like I was on a real carnival ride for a second. I'd go as far as to say this one surpasses the one in Help Wanted 2. They're both pretty close in quality, but this one takes the cake with its design. 7 out of 10. How much of the Help Wanted series is recycled content? Corn Maze is an anomaly among Help Wanted minigames, because this is the first one in all Help Wanted titles. Can you call a DLC a title? Who cares? This is the first minigame in all 3 Help Wanted titles that I feel is better in non-VR mode as opposed to actual VR mode. I'll elaborate more in a bit, but basically you're in a maze with a shocking lack of corn. I feel like I've been scammed, and you have to wander around the maze and find at least one key, then go to that key's specific gate and escape. I managed to find 3 different keys, but if there's any more, feel free to tell me. The threat with this minigame is that Grim Foxy, for some reason, is really interested in taking you home with him. So you have to stealth your way through the maze by listening to where he is, avoiding him, avoiding any crows you may alert, and if he does manage to see you, you can hide behind one of these photo stand-ins, as they're called. I had to look that shit up, you're welcome. These things are kinda overpowered too. I thought Foxy was the smart one out of the 4. Why the hell is he falling for this? I could be right in front of him, and in his POV, I guess I just vanish into thin air. Foxy's detection as a whole is kinda scuffed. I'd literally be within pissing distance and he just wouldn't detect me. My main issue with this minigame is that it feels like a slog. Everything about the maze feels either clunky or very, very sluggish. In this minigame, you walk very slowly. Turning in this game either feels snappy and slightly headache-inducing due to the nature of how many games handle turning in VR, or is completely dependent on the speed at which you turn your head, which can also be a little headache-inducing, but that's because you have an overpriced brick with spyware strapped to your face, so I won't fault Dreadbear for that. Another gripe I have with this minigame is that you also get caught on walls very easily. Foxy himself got stuck on a wall, so clearly it's not just a me issue.
Did I outrun him? Is he stuck behind that wall? He's actually stuck on that wall, look. Yeah,
If I was scoring this minigame purely off of its VR gameplay, it's a 1 out of 10. It's kinda boring and makes me feel like a 5-foot wide tortoise. However, I decided to play it with the good old keyboard and mouse, and that at least brings it up to a 3 out of 10. I mean, yeah, it's still not that engaging since Foxy is hardly a threat, and really the entire thing just feels like one big walking simulator, but at least the controls feel nice. Kinda reminds me of Zardy's Maze if any of you have played it before. Although I'd much rather play Zardy's Maze if I'm being totally honest with you. It's a sad way to go out, but at least Plush Baby didn't jump out of nowhere and completely break the flow of the minigame like she tends to do in the Help Wanted series. 3 out of 10. Maybe I'm just not in the Halloween spirit. Putting these 3 together comes out to a mortifying 2.3 out of 10. I know someone is furious. Yeah, this DLC was mid as hell. There's only a few parts of it where I genuinely sat back and said, that was a really good minigame. Like I loved Danger, Keep Out, Trick or Treat, and I fucking adored Dreadbear. But those moments were few and far between. Everything else either had me wanting to die, going through the motions, or tryharding. And I appreciate when a game is difficult, don't get me wrong. It's one of the reasons why I loved Help Wanted 2 so much, but Help Wanted 2 and even Help Wanted 1 managed to do fun and difficult way better than Dreadbear did. FNAF Noir and FNAF 2 Withered, hella fun and killed me a lot. Private Room Minimum Wage and Overtime, incredibly fun and very difficult. Nightmare Yone's minigame in Blacklight Vent Repair, stupidly difficult, especially Blacklight Vent Repair, but I still loved it. Same with DJ Music Time Smash Hit, so don't think I'm hating on the minigame just because it's hard. I'm willing to accept that Build a Mangle probably comes down to personal preference, but Plushkin Patch is a lazy reskin of an already shit minigame. And better yet, it's in a bigger area so it's slightly harder. And if that doesn't sound fun, you also get to listen to a tractor shit itself periodically as 3 midgets try to munch on your ankle like starving cats.
My ears.
Core Maze was just hella boring, and Hallway was okay. Once you know how everything in Hallway works, it's not very interesting outside of its visuals. You know what? Fuck it. If you asked me why I think nobody talks about this game, it's probably because Dreadbear himself feels like an afterthought. What exactly is he cursing again? We only see him in 2 minigames, and the rest of his appearances are just him looming over us like the skeletons in our closet. You see him once when you boot up the game, and you see him again when you die, just hanging over you like the Jolly Green Giant. Why should I remember him? The Dreadbear lookalike from Chipper and Sons Lumber Co. is more memorable than this fucker. In terms of minigames, he makes an appearance in the minigame simply titled Dreadbear and one more in Night 3 of Danger Keep Out. And unlike Freddy, he doesn't even sit there and wait for Night 3 like in the OG FNAF. He just isn't there period until Night 3. So why the hell should I care about him? In all honesty, bro feels like a niche character that only a certain corner of the community actually knows of, like Yendo or Lolbit. And before you retaliate and say, that's exactly what he is, I want to say that it's a damn shame since he's the only character outside of the OG Freddy to have his name in the title of anything related to the FNAF games. Not even Afton got that luxury. I view The Curse of Dreadbear, or COD for short, the same way I view Sister Location. A unique experience that had some cool ideas, some weird difficulty spikes, some experimental concepts, but overall is pretty forgettable. It's not bad, but it's not good either. I guess the term would be mid? Yeah, that sums up my experience pretty nicely. Either way, if you want to say hi or just had any comments on what I said today, please share them down below. Consider subscribing or becoming a channel member if you really loved my content. And as usual, I am terrible at outros. Bye bye. My voice is still recovering from Help Wanted 2. Alright, so let's see if I can do the Springtrap fucking I hate you voice. How could you do that to your own father? I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to make it hurt. Alright, you gotta, oh my god, that hurts!